Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to do a video talking about the history of Xianxia dramas. Everybody who has watched this channel for a long time knows I absolutely love Xianxia dramas, but I've only watched Xianxias that have pretty much aired from 2015 onwards. So I do want to talk about Xianxias that maybe became before that and how the genre has changed through time. So let's get into it. The first Xianxia that I'm going to be talking about is Chinese Paladin. This Xianxia game came out in 2005 and it stars Hu Ge and Liu Yifei. Now, I haven't watched this drama yet. I did try and check out this drama like a couple of weeks ago, but I couldn't really get into it because as somebody who was very keen on good CGI, this wasn't a drama that I could visually get into, although I know it's very, very popular and a lot of people really like it and really enjoy it. This one is based on a video game and is very popular. If you watch the Sword and Fairy drama that came out very recently with Esther Yu and Zukai, that drama is basically based on this drama, and this drama, Chinese Paladin and Sword and Fairy, is based on a video game. Chinese Paladin, and also by extension Sword and Fairy, the more recent one, is a story that takes place in a fantasy medieval China, right? And all these adventures kind of happen across time. And so Xianxias like that, I haven't seen Sword and Fairy, but Xianxias like that had very little romance in it. Like, it has romance in it, but it's not your average Xianxia romance drama that you would see from 2015 onwards, which is very romance heavy. Xianxias like that were just not as focused on that. It was way more focused on the action and adventure part of Xianxia dramas. And so as somebody who does like the romance genre, but also likes romance that is full of so many other things other than the main relationship, that's something that is very unique to Xianxias that are that old. So that's the primary difference. Aside from that, I do also want to talk about a Xianxia that came out in 2015 called The Journey of Flower. It stars Zhao Liying and Wallace Hu. And that Xianxia is very similar to the Xianxia The Journey of Chongji that came out. And it's a Xianxia that focuses on a relationship between a master and a disciple. The disciple falls in love with the master, and the master falls in love with her too, but they basically have a doomed relationship, and so the master is doing everything he can to prevent that romantic relationship from occurring. And I differentiate a drama like that from Chinese Paladin because it's romance heavy, and that's the main focus of it. But let me be honest, that's also a drama that I couldn't get into. The Journey of Flower has 50 or more episodes, and it's very long and, in my opinion, very dragged out because the whole focus is the disciples wanting to be with the master and the master's completely ignoring the disciple. And I mean, that's not a very interesting story to me. And more recently, The Journey of Chongji is also trying to kind of like relate with that concept as well, and it's pretty much a very old trope that isn't used so much. So I mean, it was kind of surprising when The Journey of Chongji came out, and the reviews online, if you go on my drama list, if you go on Reddit, if you go on IMDb, people did not like The Journey of Chongji because we're kind of tired, I feel like, as a people, as a world, of dramas like that. Because my opinion, like, master-disciple relationships turning romantic is actually very off-putting because the master's in that teacher role, and so it kind of feels like they're almost preying on the disciple. It kind of feels like you're watching a teacher-student relationship. Like, it's very uncomfortable. So I think that's why that one doesn't work. But furthermore, The Journey of the Flower also just was too long for its own good. I think a drama like that could have been 20 episodes and I would not have disliked it nearly as much as I did. In terms of Xianxia as well, I would say CGI-wise, I preferred watching The Journey of Flower to Chinese Paladin visually. It really wasn't that bad to look at. It's a Xianxia to the extent that, like, it's like an immortal sect. You'd probably sooner call it a Zhan Huan than you would a Xianxia, but it's within that genre of fantasy where they're all immortals and they have magic and they're fighting and all such things. The next one I want to mention is Eternal Love. This came out in 2017, and Eternal Love is the true Kickstarter of what you now see as the current Xianxia romance genre, because this drama starred Yang Mi and Mark Chow, and it's a plain and simple romance drama, 3 worlds, 3 lifetimes, lots of tragedy, lots of angst, lots of pain. It's more than 50 episodes. It is one of my favorite genres, my favorite dramas, but it is also a highly problematic genre. It's full of toxicity from the male lead, and the female lead ends up basically giving in to the male lead in the end. And I think that is reminiscent of a lot of Xianxias today. I mean, there are very few Xianxias I've watched that aren't full of toxicity. I think more recently, the one I've watched that wasn't so much toxic is probably Love Between Fairy and Devil. Anything else that I've watched more recently, like Ashes of Love, for example, that came out... It came out like a year after Eternal Love. It's full of toxicity, and so most things that are trying to copy the Eternal Love kind of formula are equally as toxic. And the only thing that felt remotely different more recently was Love Between Fairy and Devil, because it was a lot more about healing from the past than it was about fighting against, I guess, the evil inside of you. And as good as Till the End of the Moon was as well, that one's also really toxic. And although it's a healing journey, it's a much longer one. So for the most part, you're watching it in frustration until you get to the last few episodes, where things tend to kind of like, or tended to redeem themselves sort of in the end. And then even more recently in terms of Xianxias, I will mention The Legend of Shen-Li, which I will say, it came out this year. It is probably one of the most refreshing Xianxias I've seen, because it's shorter. Number one, it was like 39 episodes. And number two, it's not nearly as angsty as most Xianxias that I've mentioned in this video. There were moments where maybe I got teary-eyed, that were kind of emotional, where the characters were experiencing a lot of tragedy. But when you compare The Legend of Shen-Li to other dramas in this genre, it's way more comedic, it's way more relaxing, it takes itself a lot less seriously, and it leaves the angst towards the end. And even the last couple of episodes were so peaceful. I never watched a Xianxia where I felt pretty calm in the last 2 episodes. And it's definitely like a breath of fresh air. I hope we get more Xianxias like that. And I want to also mention Love Game and Eastern Fantasy. Although that isn't a Xianxia, if we could get a Xianxia that had literally the exact same vibe as Love Game and Eastern Fantasy, that would be great. And it's funny that I say that, because Daylight Productions, who produced Love Between Fairy and Devil, also produced Love Game and Eastern Fantasy. But of course, Love Game and Eastern Fantasy isn't a Xianxia. And Love Between Fairy and Devil isn't really that comedic. But I think if you had something that was like pretty much like Legend of Shen-Li, but with the vibes of Love Game and Eastern Fantasy, that was a Xianxia, it would be great. There's also one Xianxia that I haven't mentioned here, which is Love and Redemption, which is another really popular one. And it's not as toxic as the others, but it exists there, but instead of it being the male lead that is the main one causing all the problems, it's the female lead and her lack of knowledge, a lack of like personal awareness, until it gets like the end of the drama. And even then, there is in that drama moments of miscommunication, which is a trope I think everybody's very frustrated with at this point. And it's odd, because you would think with all the complaints and everything, the Xianxia dramas that come out from literally today onwards would stop the miscommunication trope. But unfortunately, it's something that they hyper focus on instead of straying away from. And so, of course, I know there are Xianxias in the video that I haven't mentioned. I'm mainly focusing on Xianxias that are in the romance genre and how they have sort of developed through time, and also the common tropes in them. There's the Xianxia that I haven't mentioned, Monkey King, which I tried to watch like a version that was in the 1990s, but like it really reminded me of like costume-wise, graphically, visually, of The Wizard of Oz, and so I couldn't really like get into it. Just to let you guys know, Wizard of Oz is a film that really creeps me out, so anything that reminds me remotely of that is like very off-putting, even though I know that one is like a classic. Xianxias like Monkey King are not romantic at all, and it's really all about the journey and the adventure. And I think traditionally that is what Xianxias have been in China. It's only in the 21st century that they transitioned into the romance stuff, because it's really popular with young people, and Xianxias are also way more popular internationally than they are in China. Although I will say that Eternal Love got a lot of views online, as well as Ashes of Love. Those dramas are really popular. If you go online, you can see so many videos of people singing the Ashes of Love theme songs, dressing up like Eternal Love characters, just really living out the vibes of both Ashes of Love and Eternal Love, which I would say are two of the most popular dances that have come out in the last 10 years. And so when something's popular, it's popular, you know what I mean? We like it for a reason, even with all the issues in them. And I would say that even the Journey of a Flower definitely started something. It's not something that has that drama hasn't really transcended as well through time if you compare it to Ashes of Love and Eternal Love. And I also think that has to do with the OST. I want to mention Xianxia OSTs in this video too, and the history of Xianxia and the music. Xianxia with a great OST that maybe isn't the best show can really carry a show, because looking back retrospectively, Ashes of Love visually was very uninteresting and bland, but the OST is forever iconic. And I would kind of say the same thing as Eternal Love, although I think visually Eternal Love looked a lot better. But great OSTs that you can just re-listen to and cry to, and certain episodes and scenes just are in your head, really help. And I also think as well, having actors that are new but really good at what they do. Ashes of Love, that's Xianxia playing Ronyu, forever iconic. And in Eternal Love, Mark Chow as Yahuwah was amazing. So it's just the most iconic performances, even when you're not playing the best characters, will leave these dramas in our heads forever. And I will say, I don't want all the revamps and remakes of older dramas, because certain tropes don't work after a certain amount of time. And I think that's something that, the Chinese entertainment industry needs to learn. We need something new and refreshing. And I'm hoping next year really brings that about, because we have a lot of Xanders coming out next year that are kind of demons and that kind of thing, where it delves into the demonic realm a little bit more. And I think that's going to be kind of interesting. At least I'm hoping so. And let me know what Xanders you've watched in the comments below, and how you think the Xander drama has changed through time, especially regarding stuff I didn't talk about in this video, like the Xanders that aren't romantic at all, like Monkey King. They're focused more on adventure, and what you think about that. Thanks so much for listening to my video. If you like my channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.